Before I start talking, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land in which this research was conducted, the people of Kulin Nation, and pay our respects to their elders past, present, and emerging. The challenge that we have is to identify vulnerable and resilient species in current forest, but also identify resilient species for future urban forests. So the question that we have is, can we identify species that we currently have, or should we pick up different ones that are resilient for future urban forests? So climate niche analysis is one of the easiest tools to predict climate suitability of species. But does it tell us where a plant cannot grow? Does it tell us if a plant is drought tolerant? Does it tell us if a plant can tolerate heat stress? No. In urban forests, we're most interested at the adult niche, since the establishment, dispersal niche, and reproductive niche are all done at nurseries. So we don't actually have to worry about that. We're basically just getting a tree that is semi-mature, just planted in the ground, and then we're looking at the adult niche of the species. That tree species have different strategies to cope with climate stressors. So as an example, drought-resistant strategies in trees can be in two forms. As far as we know, they can either be avoiding drought or they can tolerate drought. And avoidance, I mean, they can either be water spenders or water savers. Water spenders water spenders means that they just invest their growth in root systems, so they find water in deeper soil layers, and they can just be lushers and be spending water without even caring about a drought period. Sorry. And water savers are the ones that have either organs to store water, or they have adapted morphology with small leaves, and they just have low water consumption. And tolerant species, they can just resist a lot of drought by a lot of tension in their xylem tissue. So they can resist long periods of drought or very drought events without even suffering from it. So yeah, climate niche does not indicate drought-resistant strategy. And again, we're looking at Camaldulensis, but it has deep root system. It's a drought-avoiding species, but maybe it will not survive long and dry conditions without deep soil moisture. However, Eucalyptus leucoxylon, classified with green, amber, and red for current, moderate, and extreme climate, shallow root system, but it's a very drought-tolerant species and can survive for long, hot and dry conditions without deep soil. It's probably one of the best species to be planted in urban forest. So, in conclusion, have that climate niche analysis should not be used solely for urban tree selection. I hope I already convinced you of that, because it's a poor tool to identify vulnerable species. It's a poor tool to predict climate tolerances of species. However, it's a good tool to identify species with large climate ranges, like Eucalyptus camaldulensis. And it would be probably better to use urban distribution only, and that's probably a better way for us to predict vulnerability of species. But please do not use this analysis to deselect species. So what can we do? Well, we can build climate niche models with better parameters, so using climate extremes instead of climate means, because trees don't really die from mean annual temperature or mean annual precipitation. They die from more like heat waves and during drought and all of that. But this is something that we can all do here in this room, is to better monitor our urban trees. So we need to start recording data of planting. That's a big information for us to develop growth models and understand how this tree is growing. Causes of death, or maybe some kind of indication of why this tree was removed. Evidence is based on tree vulnerability, and big one here to make these tree inventories and tree health assessment data available and easy accessible, so we can start this analysis in a different way and assess the species that are actually being vulnerable to future climate. All right, that's all I have for today. Thank you very much.